Just so soon after my Lauri Markkanen video detailing the fact that I believe that he would end up not being traded after all, and his post, or rather the post that he was tagged in alongside Keontae George over in Finland getting their workout in with Utah Jazz coaches, basically told me that it was a nail in the coffin, telling us that the Utah Jazz are not going to deal him. Yes, they have the ability to today and going forward, but the likelihood of it is extremely slim. With this day, August 6th, at the time of this video being posted, he has the ability to re-sign his deal that will end up giving him a max contract. However, many people believe he will wait until the 7th or slightly later than that so that he can avoid being traded around the trade deadline this year and just avoid those conversations altogether. I'm part of the camp that believes while Danny Ainge is a little bit of a schemer, he will probably allow Lauri to make this move and he will not try any sneaky business underneath the table. At the same time, I believe that there has been a large amount of disingenuous media that has dropped as of late in the looks of clickbait content regarding Lauri Markkanen's current future, and likely it will continue over the next 48 or so hours until we get a definite answer on what's going on with his contract situation. But I'm going to break that down a little bit in the video today. With that being said, it's your boy Wraith Hoops. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and smash that like button, subscribe, turn on post notifications, and become a member or donate to the channel to help support the content. Without any further ado, let's go ahead and hop into this one. Now, there have been many news articles online just talking about Lauri Markkanen remains unlikely to re-sign with the Utah Jazz. Lauri Markkanen not likely to sign a contract extension with the Utah Jazz, something along those lines. And there have been countless articles with those titles. And that's just honestly disingenuous because yes, it is going to get people to click on it, but it's a news line and headline that just makes no sense. Because for anybody that's been a frequent flyer of this channel in particular, or just has been clued into the Lauri Markkanen drama overall, you would understand that Lauri has vehemently said that he wants to stay with the Utah Jazz. He says that his family enjoys staying here. He doesn't want to create too much change for his young children. He says that he wants to get paid and he's willing to stick through the downs in order to experience the ups with this roster, or at the very least what it will potentially be in a couple years. Understanding that, why the heck would he not sign a contract extension, right? So that's what's the shock value that's forcing a lot of people to click on these articles, because that's what the headlines are saying. They're omitting the part where it's until after August 6th. And that's the part that I don't really enjoy. I understand the necessity of paying bills. Yes, as a business, you have to do all that stuff. If you're a news article, creating website, if you're a just news provider in general, you do have to do some stuff that's a little bit, not necessarily underhanded, but a little bit that's disingenuous and a little bit lopsided and unfaithful, just so that you can draw enough people in to give them the proper amount of information necessary for them to make their own logical conclusions. At the same time though, this one is a little bit of a stretch for me personally. I understand, talking about how likely he is to re-sign with the Utah Jazz, but when you outwardly ignore the final blurb that should be attached to it and just say he's unlikely to sign with the Utah Jazz, that's not correct. That's factually inaccurate. That's a lie, for lack of better phrasing. So I don't really subscribe to that. Again, let's remember Lauri Markkanen is a phenomenal shooter, almost shot 50-40-90 splits last season, even though he was forced to sit out some games at the end of the season and made it seem like he was an injury risk, when in reality, he's probably an upper 60s, low 70s kind of guy when he's given the opportunity to. And once the teammates on the Utah Jazz all get around his power, I suppose, or just become quality role players alongside him, he won't have to strain himself as much. And so even the minimal injuries that just continue to linger throughout the season for him being a 7-footer, they just won't be there. So at the same time, I believe that the front office has been perfectly in communication with him and his agents. Yes, he's back in Finland. It's not anything new. It's something that he constantly was known to have done in the past, especially in off seasons in particular. And the fact that Keontae George went over there to work out with him alongside some of the Utah Jazz coaching staff just tells me that they're all in. They like what they see. They're confident that they can lose this year with Lauri Markkanen on the roster, and then not only will they still have his all-star caliber play next year, but they'll also have a top 5 pick that will guarantee an all-star caliber player as a result to pair alongside Lauri Markkanen. And let's not forget, we also have Collin Sexton and a couple interesting pieces on the roster that have yet to really find their footing. In that same vein, though, like I said, these news articles are very disingenuous. If you're going to say something, you should say it right. Or if you're going to mislead, be a little bit gingerly about doing it. Don't be completely distasteful. And that's where I find a lot of the news to be. Because at the point where you're just sitting there and not just twisting words, but you're just blatantly leaving out half of the phrase that needs to be explained, it's not fair. And it's not correct. And it's not right, in my opinion. I know that it may be an unpopular opinion, and I have been known at times to use titles that will insinuate certain things without directly saying them. I'll slap a question mark on something. Lauri Markkanen re-signs with the Utah Jazz, question mark. And while you could be caught off guard, and if my thumbnail is good enough, you will click on that video, but I'm not going to outwardly say, Lauri Markkanen signs max contract with the Utah Jazz. Boom, slap that title up there. That's a lie, because it hasn't happened yet. Now, could it happen? Of course. But even in that vein, because that's more possible than this one, that's what makes this even worse. Because he is going to resign. That's the belief. That is the overall conscious and conclusive understanding that everybody has about him. With the Utah Jazz, at least. So unless something insane happens, as I said in my video yesterday, he's going to stay with the Utah Jazz. He's going to resign. It's just about when he resigns, right? And everybody doesn't sit there and add the when part in there. Even if you leave him on a cliffhanger, that's a lot better. That's a little bit more tasteful. It leaves a little bit something in the throat. It makes you hunger for some more information. But this just doesn't. It just adds shock value, and it confuses the heck out of anybody that's been following the news because it doesn't make sense. He is going to re-sign with the Utah Jazz. That's my prediction. That's my foregone conclusion in my mind. I don't see any way around it. I believe the contract's going to be front-loaded. He's going to get a lot of money this upcoming year, and then it'll slowly trickle down as time goes on, so that when it's time for guys like Keontae George, Taylor Hendricks, like Isaiah Collier, Kyle Filipowski, Cody Williams, Walker Kessler, if everybody pans out, and Bryce Sensabaugh, I think that they'll end up getting their contract extensions before his ends up expiring, which will do them better because then you can front-load their contracts as well and do the same thing and maintain Lauri until the end of his career. If things play out perfectly, of course, right? So again, it's lies. It's just blatant cap. So for anybody that was concerned, anybody that had a couple of head scratchers, anybody that felt the same way as me, yes, we are in the same boat. Fear not, Lauri Markkanen is just going to be waiting most likely until the 7th, which should be tomorrow, the day after this video being posted, in order to sign his max contract extension. And then he will still be on the Utah Jazz. They'll tank this year, they'll be better next year, and they'll genuinely start trying to win games, right? Instead of just developing the young players. They'll start trying to be a good basketball team. And I think they will have all the tools necessary. Keontae George should be a better shooter, should be a better playmaker. I don't think he's a point guard per se. I still want him at the off guard spot. Collin Sexton, if he's still allowed to be on the roster, I believe that his playmaking skills will continue to increase, and as a result, he will be a legitimate point guard that has a high level of issue. I would trust him at the point guard spot more than a Damian Lillard type of character because he might not have the exact logo range as Dame, but he has a more filled out offensive repertoire, and I just trust him to be relatively, at this very moment, the way he ended the season, roughly in the same stratosphere as Dame as a passer, if not slightly better. And that might be a little bit of hyperbole on my part. However, I do believe he is in the same stratosphere nevertheless. As a result, though, I trust that Collin Sexton, Lauri Markkanen, and Cooper Flagg, etc., whoever else might end up being picked in the next year's draft, alongside the pieces that we already have on the roster, will be a contending team for years to come. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. As always, I'm interested to hear what you have to say. Did any of those articles end up catching you off guard? It didn't really catch me. I was kind of scratching my head, though. With that being said, though, go and smash that like button, subscribe, turn on post notifications, become a member of the channel, drop a donation to help support the content, and without any further ado, good morning, good evening, and good night. No matter where you're on the globe watching, thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.